Well, we got to bask in the glow of a 49er victory for 18 hours, 20 hours. And now we find out George Kittle could miss a month and Brock Purdy may not even be able to go next week against the Saints. Plus, one of us on the show is a genius, and it ain't me. What is good, everybody? Welcome to another Gold Standard podcast. We are part of the Pro Football Insiders. I am Rob Stats Guerrera alongside Vish Kumar. And Vish, the 49ers won, but already we got bad injury news.
Rob, you could have started the sentence off. Let the positive ring for a second. That was a phenomenal Division I win, week 1. It's really hard to do on the road, one of the toughest places in the NFL still to play. That's a great win, Rob. And then we can get to the injury woes.
I'm sorry, but the injury woes are the breaking news. If you don't know, Brock Purdy may not go next week against the Saints. He's got a shoulder injury. He's got a toe injury. The toe is apparently more serious. Here is Kyle Shanahan breaking the news today via conference call.
Brock Purdy hurt his left shoulder and toe. We'll see how this week goes for him.
Kyle, is one of those two Purdy injuries more severe than the other and he in risk of missing a start or two?
I'd probably say the toe's worse than the shoulder.
And what about his availability this week?
Yeah, we're not sure. We got to see how it heals and how the week goes on it.
With Brock's toe, is that a turf toe injury?
Just toe. That's all I got here.
It's all he's got. He has no way to know what the injury is. But, look, this is the show where we usually go drive by drive and break down everything that happens, and we will do that. But Vish, knowing what I know now, that Brock was essentially injured early in the game, to play the way he played down the stretch and specifically at the end is kind of more impressive.
Yeah, I was about to say, I think when I found out he was injured, it put a different perspective for me on his performance. And I thought he played exceptionally well in the first half of the game. I thought he managed it really well. I thought he played how a franchise quarterback should play on the road in a division game. When your team is shorthanded, you lose your second best offensive players so early in the game. I thought he was playing great. And then Matt Barrows mentioned, you sent the tweet to me that the shoulder injury seemed to happen at the end of the first half. And I thought he played very poorly in the second half, to be frank. Now, he battled. He was clearly injured. So the fact that he stayed in the game and battled on the road is some franchise quarterback stuff. But frankly, other than the fantastic escape at the end of the game, he was a little lucky on the Tonges throw. Now, I think the whole perspective of knowing he was this injured, battling a lower extremity injury and an upper body injury, it makes this now a very gutsy performance in my mind rather than why did Brock Purdy's go so up and down from the first half to the second half? Because the first half really looked like Brock Purdy at his best. He was throwing the ball with phenomenal touch. Some of the throws to Ricky Pearsall specifically were beautiful. He was playing on time and on schedule. He was getting the ball out of his hands quickly and distributing the ball to his playmakers. It was Brock Purdy when Brock Purdy plays his best football. And the second half, starting off with one ugly interception, which there was another one in the game, was not Brock Purdy playing his best football. But now I have a very different perspective on it. In terms of whether he'll play week 2 or not, Rob, I think he's the kind of guy that's going to battle through and play. That's not really my concern. My concern is more when your quarterback is this banged up, especially early on in the season, it's hard. It's hard for them to play. It's hard for them to battle through. There are very few guys in this league that play very good hurt. That's why, only Brett Favre, Eli Manning, these sorts of guys have this consecutive start streak, because some guys just don't play very well hurt. And Purdy has played hurt a few times, but he's never gotten hurt this early in the season and had to manage it. And I have no doubt he'll be the utmost professional managing it, but it's a very difficult thing for the 49ers to go through.
It's not ideal. Week 2. Now, we don't know if he'll play. Like you said, it's up in the air. It's his non-throwing shoulder. So that is, at least there is a little bit of good news there. Non-throwing shoulder. The toe injury, we don't know what it is. Apparently, Johnny Dale said he thinks that maybe Brendel stepped on his toe, which is just one of those random unfortunate things. I don't know. But look, we could be going into New Orleans next week with no Brock Purdy. We know Kittle's not going to play. Kyle said he's going to miss a few weeks with the hamstring injury. So that is not ideal. We don't know Juwan Jennings is going to play. He might go, but his shoulder is banged up. So now you're looking at, Mac Jones, Christian McCaffrey, hopefully, assuming his calf doesn't flare up, which it could flare up at any time. No Juwan Jennings, no George Kittle. Suddenly this Saints game got a lot harder.
I agree. And the toe injury specifically, you talked about the shoulder not affecting his throwing, the left shoulder. I think the toe injury could. So I don't know quarterback mechanics at all, but from the little I've seen the experts talk about it, there's a lot of conversation about how you use the ground to generate force, and cleats in the ground is often a common term used, like use your feet and using from the ground and the hips to create kinetic energy to be able to throw the football. And so I don't know how, if he can't put weight on his foot the same way because his big toe is banged up, or he's unable to push off of it, or be as explosive an athlete because of his big toe. I think that's really could affect him. And it might have affected how he was throwing and driving the ball even in the second half on Sunday as well, Rob, because we certainly saw a few balls float for him. And I'm not saying he's got the strongest arm in the world, but he doesn't float it the way he was floating it a few times there. Like the Ricky Pearsall throw specifically, I'm sure we'll touch on it when we go drive by drive. Like that's a touchdown throw. I don't expect him to miss that touchdown throw. In fact, I think he makes that throw 9 times out of 10, and we hit the 10th time, and perhaps the injury had something to do with it.
I went back and watched that throw specifically on the film. It's not a timing thing. Like, he starts to throw as Ricky is making his break. It's not like he didn't see it. It's just that the throw took a while to get there. I thought maybe he just put too much air under it, but maybe that's the way he had to throw it because of the injuries. And I will say this, and I know people are going to get mad. This is where Brock's arm strength becomes an issue, right? You have an injury. You're not totally healthy. A lot of quarterbacks can use their arm to make up for not being able to generate a lot of force with their lower body, right? You kind of just throw it all with your arm and that's it. Well, guess what? Brock Purdy doesn't have the arm to be able to compensate for that. So it may impact the game plan. We'll see if he plays. If he does play, is he able to throw it deep? Who knows? There's a lot of questions up in the air right now. It's Monday. We don't know, but it's all worth asking right now.
Yeah, and I don't really know that. I think that's a really interesting take from you on his arm strength being a bigger weakness now. I'd like to hear more about that. I think that's really interesting. But for me, the other part of it that kind of concerns me is, other than the arm strength, is I felt like his size. And that's the one thing I always kind of go back and forth with him. I felt like his size kind of got affected in that game. And Seattle has a really, really big defensive line. Leonard Williams is a big guy, and he creates havoc. DeMarcus Lawrence is a very big guy. The two guys they had rushing off the edge, I thought played very well. Both Derek Hall and Boye Mafe were pretty effective in the game. Both were pretty effective rushing against Trent Williams in the game. And I thought their size, and specifically their ability to push the pocket in the interior, like later, like not immediate pressure. It's not like he got pressure in his face right as the ball was snapped, but it would be as he would set to throw, there would be a late push where someone would flash right into his throwing area, or where he was about to follow through on his throw and all of that. I thought that affected him a little bit yesterday. It would affect any quarterback, but I think him more when you're a smaller quarterback, that interior pressure, especially from those big size guys. We saw what Eric Armstead and DeForest Buckner did to smaller quarterbacks for years for the 49ers. I think that affected him. And I think that's what makes Seattle one of the toughest matchups for him specifically, because of that size up front. That's the one thing I think they have as their strength, and it was utilized yesterday.
And Brock Purdy is 4-0 now in Lumen Field in Seattle. You know, it might be affected him.
Impressive.
They have found a way to come. And I know he hasn't played great in all those. I mean, yesterday he was as much good as bad. Like, it was 50-50, I would say, but he did come through at the end. Before we get to the drive-by-drive breakdown of the game, I mean, we can't talk about this game without acknowledging the genius on the show, and it's not me. And in case anybody needs a reminder, you weren't with us last week, I offer the following.
I'm going to take the Niners. I think it's going to be a low-scoring affair. But I think the Niners defense is really going to have something for Seattle's offense. I'm going to take them 17-13.
Ooh, low scoring game. Okay.
Leaving myself open to eat a lot of crow on Monday, but I don't think I'm going to be. I think I'm going to be eating a lot of Seahawks.
You nailed it, Vish. You nailed the prediction. The perfect score week one right out of the gate down to the defensive performance analysis by you. I am not worthy, my friend. You are a genius. You're smart. I'm dumb. You're good looking. I'm not attractive. Congratulations.
Wow. If only I bet on that, right? Like I got nothing from doing that, but I think that the score part is a coincidence. The guy that really backed me up was Robert Saleh. The one thing I felt like I was very confident of is when Robert Saleh gets a Kyle Shanahan protege and Kyle Shanahan gets a Kyle Shanahan protege, they eat that offense alive. And I thought the 49ers defense, yesterday's performance was purely coaching. I don't think they're like Seattle doesn't have a very talented offense to me. I'm not going to go like and espouse very, say very positive things about their weapons or anything like that. But they have two good running backs, and the 49ers didn't have a very good run defense last year. And we saw them completely shut down the run game by just knowing what the Seahawks were going to do and knowing how to counter it, just with good sound scheme and good sound technique. The Niners, I mean, Robert Saleh is just a phenomenal coach, Rob. And we saw the difference coaching makes. They have a few very good players, of course, on their defense. Warner, Bosa, Lenore. So it helps when you have those sorts of guys. But thank you, Robert Saleh. You made me right.
He made a lot of us feel good on Sunday for sure. Let's get into it, Vish. We'll start our drive-by-drive breakdown of the game. Seahawks get the ball first, and I loved first third down of the game. Right away, Bosa comes on a blitz and blasts Sam Darnold. Robert Saleh does not sit back on third downs. He comes up, he comes at you, and he attacks. Bosa got through. Now, to his credit, Darnold completed the pass, but it was right in the flat, and I believe it was Marquise Siegel was right there. Bam! Makes a tackle, 3 and out. Right away, they set the tone.
Right, and they forced the throw. They forced the throw on third down. Like the way the pressure was set up, right? They made Sam Darnold throw to that spot, and they had Siegel in that spot, and he did a good job making the tackle. That's Robert Saleh first and foremost. You're absolutely right. The second part of it is Sam Darnold played very well last year, was a damn near MVP candidate because the Vikings protected the crap out of him. Nearly 3 seconds to throw the ball last year. And when he has time and he's not getting spooked by people around him, Sam Darnold can really throw the ball. Greatest thrower ever, according to some. And so we saw that early on in this game, they got around Darnold. And I would say Darnold never blew this game away for Seattle. He didn't make that one mistake, but he also was never comfortable in this game. There were times that his accuracy would come and go. There were a few throws that he definitely could have had and he missed. And there were definitely moments where he just was kind of riding the Seahawks wave and momentum rather than impacting the game as a $30 million quarterback. I'll tell you this, Rob, I feel like that's a very different game with Geno Smith under center. Geno Smith is a better player than Sam Darnold.
That's a low bar. Oh, by the way, I should point out that they didn't go 3 and out. They hit Jackson Smith and Jigba on the first play for 18 yards. That's all Sam Darnold did in this game was hit Jackson Smith and Jigba. Sam Darnold
on mostly schemed throws.
You're right. Darnold threw for 150 yards in the game. 124 of them went to JSN. That's 86% of his yardage went to one dude. Like, come on. Robert Saleh put on a clinic. It was classic 49ers. One wide receiver hurts you for big numbers, but nobody else does anything. We saw it with Devontae Adams with the Packers. We saw it with Cooper Kupp when he was with the Rams. This is when the Niners system is cooking. This is what can happen. That's exactly what happened. JSN was the only guy that did anything receiving-wise for the Seahawks.
I like your point. I hate that comparison, and here's why. I think those two players, like the Devontae Adams you're talking about, the Cooper Kupp you're talking about, those are exceptional receivers. Devontae Adams is a guy who might be one of the 10 or 11 best receivers in NFL history. Cooper Kupp that 1 year was a dominant player. It's one of the great receiving non-Jerry Rice, Antonio Brown, Randy Moss type receiving seasons in NFL history. To me, JSN in this game, took advantage of Seattle having a few schemed up plays to take advantage of a rookie who had a lot of responsibility. And they got him a few times where they had a creative play action, they had JSN fake blocking, and then they have him run a rail route up the sideline. And Upton Stout has 3 responsibilities on the play. He's playing man on JSN. He's got a gap in the run game. And, he's also got to worry about if the guy's going to block him, that sort of thing. And his head is spinning a little because that's a lot to take care of on a play. And, Seattle got him. It's a nice creative play call, Clint Kubiak. That's the only thing I felt like Seattle had going on. I felt like man on man, Cooper Kupp had that one route where Sam Darnold threw the ball 4 yards out of bounds, but Upton Stout did hold him. But it didn't feel like man or man. Seattle's receivers were having much success, whether it was on Green, whether it was on Lenore, whether it was on Stout, especially in obvious pass situations. And it wasn't like Darnold was letting it rip. He had that one big throw on the out and up to Jackson Smith and Jigba. That was the one route Jackson Smith and Jigba legitimately won on the outside. Besides that, they matched up not just from a scheme standpoint where they owned everything they saw coming, even the little tricks Seattle tried in the second half. The 49ers ate those tricks alive. They also just mano-a-mano, they matched up very well. Seattle doesn't have too much talent on their offensive line. It's not very good. The 2 running backs are very good. The Niners played the run exceptionally well. And those receivers, I don't think they're going to be a problem. When they play again, if this is the same Seattle setup, the 49ers defense will eat them for breakfast. They will eat this offense up.
So Seahawks punt, Niners get the ball. And let me just read to you how the possession went for the Niners. McCaffrey, Purdy scramble, Kittle, McCaffrey, Pearsall, incomplete, Robinson, incomplete to Gage, roughing the passer, keeps the drive alive. McCaffrey, Kittle, false start, McCaffrey, scramble, Kittle. It was CMC, it was 85, and it was 1. Pearsall, McCaffrey, Kittle, over and over and over again. And guess what? Nobody in the world had a problem with it. And guess what, Vish? They scored a touchdown.
Absolutely. Purdy was great. He was very good on third down, accurate and on time on each one of those throws. Those are their 3 best players on offense by far. Pearsall, as we predicted, Rob, he's a stud. He's a total stud. And so it was as good a Kyle Shanahan. It was vintage Kyle Shanahan, the way they moved down the field. It's as good as it gets. And Christian McCaffrey, and I know that a lot of people are like, there was conversation about his calf before the game, all these sorts of things. I want to say this, Rob, because this is what I was kind of thinking about yesterday. When I think of like the best running backs I've ever seen in my lifetime, I'm only 25 years old, so I'm not going to pull out like Barry Sanders, even though he retired 3 years before I was born, I'm not going to pull him out and be like, yes, that's the best running back I've seen, because I didn't get to live through Barry Sanders. So I'm talking about like people I got to live through their, playing career. He's top 3 for me. It's him, Adrian Peterson, and LaDainian Tomlinson. Those are the 3 best running backs I've ever seen. I feel like just the best players at the position. I know Derrick Henry, once again, another mammoth performance yesterday, but like for me, pound for pound, I've been arguing with this even when Christian McCaffrey was a Panthers running back. I've always thought just Christian McCaffrey was a better player. And I really felt that watching yesterday's game. It was the sheer will, the toughness, the way he ran the ball in between the tackles, the way he would make people miss and turn like small positives out of these runs that were just really grueling and grinding. The way he was so clever in the receiving game to create bits and pieces of separation. The way it's just an A+ performance from a great player, special player.
I don't know what percentage he was, if it was 100% or 90 or 80, but it was incredible to watch. You can see this offense. He just moves so much of what this offense does. He keeps the chains moving for them. They go 95 yards in 14 plays. They stick it in the end zone. Jake Moody hits the extra point, and we are off and running, Bish. I'm like, yes, okay, let's go.
You had to include that last part, huh?
Yes. Well, it becomes a thing later. So Seahawks get the ball back. They pick on Upton Stout again. He gets beat for 22 yards by Jackson Smith and Jigba. Seahawks are moving the ball down the field. And
so I have a different take I want to say on this drive. I know a lot of people call it the Upton Stout drive. But for me, this was the one drive Seattle got to establish the run a little bit. They got Zach Charbonnet going for a few positive first down carries. And I think that's how they were able to influence, okay, we can pick on Upton Stout because we can put him in run pass conflict. And that's what they did to him. It's a very difficult role playing nickel. We talked about this exact point for him last week, having to start this sort of game. And I think the bigger point is that this was the one time Seattle got to run the football, and we saw how their offense is effective when they're able to do that. But if they're not, they're pretty horrible.
And to be fair, the Niners forced the Seahawks to go for it on 4th and 3 at the 4-yard line, which that'll come up later in the show. And first of all, on 3rd down, D. Winters crushes Zach Charbonnet to stop them and bring up 4th down. And then they throw to Cooper Kupp on 4th down, and Darnold just biffs the throw. He overthrows it. It's not a catchable ball. Unfortunately, Upton Stout, I think, got a little nervous and held on to the arm of Cooper Kupp, and they called a penalty. That gave him a 1st down. Seattle eventually runs the ball in for a touchdown, and this game is tied at 7-7.
You're right. And that was, I think, Stout's like one mistake that was a little more egregious to me. But he just panicked a little bit because Kupp got a little bit of separation. He panicked a little bit because it was 4th and 3. You're right. Darnold threw that ball 3 yards out of bounds. It wasn't close.
No, it was a terrible throw. And I think that's going to be a thing in the red zone. When teams see Stout on the field, they're going to try to get a receiver on him, and they're just going to throw it up because he's so much shorter than everybody. I totally get the instinct, and it was the right instinct by Seattle. Didn't work out. But I don't think that's the last time we're going to see Upton Stout get targeted in the red zone. But Seattle gets the touchdown. They tie the game. We're going to have to skip ahead a few possessions, Vish, because otherwise we'll be here all night. But punt, 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 punt. That's the next 4 possessions in the game. There were some weird things. The Niners had a wonky possession where they tried to do a handoff to Brian Robinson, and he bobbled it, and they did a shovel pass to George Kittle that was immediately stopped. Ultimately, it ended up in 4 straight punts by either team. Niners get the ball back. It's 7-7. There's 6:06 left in the second, and they start driving down the field again. Short pass to Christian McCaffrey. Handoff to Christian McCaffrey. Brian Robinson loses 3 yards. No problem. We hit Juwan Jennings for 11 yards on the next play on 3rd and 7, and we're moving down the field. I will say, I noticed a couple of times in this game, and I think that Jennings catch was one of them, Bish. When Seattle blitzed, Purdy was throwing to replace the blitz. And I feel like in past years, Brock's answers when he was hot would be opposite the blitz on the other side of the field, which, as JT O'Sullivan has pointed out multiple times, is very difficult for a quarterback. A lot of people talked about Kyle's making it harder for Brock. I saw in this game when a guy blitzed multiple times, Brock Purdy threw right where that blitzer was coming from.
Yeah, I saw that as well. And the Jennings screen was the one kind of Jennings play in this game, and I thought it was nice to see that it looked like Jennings. Like when he gets an opportunity, especially on 3rd down, to make a play after the catch, he's very, very effective. He's very hard to bring down one-on-one.
Absolutely, and it was nice to see. They're moving down the field. They hit Juice for the 25-yard leak play, which, welcome back, Kyle Juszczyk. That's what
he had a pretty good game.
Pretty much. They get down. Now they're at the Seattle 16. They run it on 1st down. I feel like anytime they get into the red zone, 1st down run every time for Kyle Shanahan. It's almost immediate. They get stuffed a bunch of times. 3rd and 1, stuffed for a yard. Or not stuffed, I should say. He technically got the 1st down. And then it's 1st and goal. He loses 2 yards. Brock throws incomplete to Jennings on 2nd and goal. 3rd and goal. Brock incomplete to Ricky Pearsall. And Jake Moody comes out for a 27-yard field goal, Vish, with 1 minute left in the half. A 27-yard field goal, clang, off the upright, which, if it didn't hit the upright, was going to be wide.
Well, Stats, you fast forward so much to get to this field goal, so I feel like you have a lot to say about this, so I'm going to let you go first.
Well, it's unconscionable at this point to keep. I wasn't even mad at Moody at this point. It's not Jake Moody's fault anymore. He's not good. He's trying his best. He's not good. He shouldn't be out there. Kyle Shanahan should never put Jake Moody out there. I don't care if it's 27 or 57. It's stupid now, Vish. It's just stupid. And Kyle was asked about Jake Moody today on the conference call, by the way. Here's what he said.
We're looking into all that stuff now. I mean, there's options. Just whether it's stay to status quo, bring in guys for workout, practice squad. But we're going through all that stuff right now. I'm just finished with the team and I know the personnel department's going to look into all that stuff and give us those options.
He didn't say, he said maybe we'll just bring in a kicker on the practice squad. He didn't say that they were definitely cutting Moody. He didn't say they were definitely keeping him either. But it shouldn't even be this difficult, Vish. It's just stupid. And it's a disservice to everyone else in the locker room to have this guy out on the field. I knew he was missing that 27-yarder the second he lined up for it.
It's funny. I also thought the same thing. So I want to tie in what I thought about the 27-yard field goal with another thing we kind of skipped that went in that in-between part of the game. And that was the Kittle injury, right? Like them ruling him out right away was devastating. It felt like, damn, like George Kittle was primed for a huge, huge year. They brought Luke Farrell so they can really use him as a receiver. He looked like George Kittle right away in this game. He scored a touchdown on their first drive. Like everything was pointing up to a big, big, big George Kittle season. And now you don't have him. And it feels like you're not going to have him for a while because he's dealing with the hamstring the first week of the season that you've already ruled him out, like right after he gets the injury. So it's kind of a devastating thing. The funny thing was the Niners battled through that on the road without him. They found a way, just like you said, to be able to get their offense going again and have a really good drive. And they were having a pretty great first half, right? Up to the point that he misses the field goal.
Yep.
He single-handedly shifted the momentum of this game. The Niners were very much in control of this game. Their offense felt in control. Purdy felt in control. Everything was smooth sailing. And you take the time of possession they just had, the way they managed the clock, and you kill everything by clanking a 27-yard field goal. Something that should be automatic. And he looked so unconfident when he stepped up to kick it. It's pathetic. The fact that we're going through this is pathetic to me. We should never be having this conversation. Forget the fact that he's a third-round kicker. There's zero reason to continue this. And my biggest issue, Rob, is they had a Fugazi kicking competition this offseason. I don't mean it because they cut Greg Joseph. Like, I think when they cut Greg Joseph, they had no choice but to cut Greg Joseph. But cutting Greg Joseph indicated to me that the only reason they brought him in was to give Moody confidence. They didn't do this as a kicking competition. If they did that, Joseph would have had a chance to actually win the job. This was Joseph coming here so that we can prop up Moody this offseason and hopefully get him to believe in himself, and then we have Moody as our kicker. That is the bigger problem for me. The fact that they didn't think about moving off of him when they are so good at giving guys 1 year where they're the full-time starter, then a second year where they're the full-time starter, and if they don't cut it, they're done with them. They even did it with the quarterback that they traded 3 ones to get. And now they're doing this game with a kicker, and they don't trust him. Shanahan calls the game like he doesn't know what's going on because we know how quick he is to trot his kicker on there. He loves that shit. That's his favorite thing. When can I put my kicker on the field? I'm half joking as a Shanahan fan. But I think that's the biggest issue. It's unbelievable, Rob. The fact that they kept him is unbelievable. I think Moody might even be a good kicker. It's not going to happen with the 49ers. This never happens with kickers. Their psyche is like the wind. It comes and goes. When they're good, they're good. When they're bad, they're bad. And the only thing that seems to do good to turn from good to bad and bad to good is a change of scenery. I've seen it happen both ways. Bad becomes good and good becomes bad with kickers.
When your argument is, well, he doesn't miss all the kicks, that's when you know you should cut him. Like, what are we doing here? It's maddening. It's got to stop. Like, they're so worried that, well, he could end up being good down the road. It's like, yeah, well, even if that's the case, you're losing games now, or you could lose games now. You're missing kicks and costing yourself points now. You can't just keep ignoring all that stuff and filing it away until someday when Jake Moody might theoretically be good.
And you know what the worst part is? You pointed it out to me, right? In college, he had very clear home and away splits where he was good kicking at home, bad kicking away. I don't know the stats with the 49ers. I don't feel like he's kicked great, especially when there's been wind at Levi's. They always talk about, oh, the wind was swirling. The wind is very hard to kick in at Levi's. He's been given that excuse for 2 years, but I don't know that he's kicked great in Levi's. But Kyle Posey, our friend, tweeted yesterday that he's 9 for 18 in the last 2 years kicking on the road. That is pathetic, Rob. And
50.
I don't even want to joke about Shanahan settling for field goals because honestly, on the road, it's hard to score touchdowns on the road. Like on the road, you want to get every point you can have. And the fact that your kicker is 50-50, when you go on the road, you have to make decisions where do we have to go for a tough fourth down with a tough crowd rather than sticking our kicker out there and getting points and getting a little bit of momentum is freaking bullshit. It's garbage. They shouldn't be in this situation. And their special team sucks, Rob. It sucks. I think it's a culture issue with their special teams. It's not a coach issue. They can fire every coordinator they want. I don't know that they take it seriously enough from an organizational perspective. And I don't mean by signing players. I mean, I don't think star players and coaches give it enough attention in practice that this is an important element of our game. It's not about them just not fucking up. They are as important as our offense and defense in winning the game. I don't think they do that. That's their problem. But even if you do that, you can't deal with this with the kicking. This is horrible. This is horrible.
It is. And by the way, if you're wondering, Jake Moody at home in his college career made 90% of his field goals. On the road, he made 68% of his field goals. In the pros, Jake Moody has made 88% of his field goals. At home, he has made 65% of his field goals on the road. He's the same guy.
I take back the home point, by the way. I take it totally back. He's been great at home. I don't ever remember him missing in this swirling Levi wind. I don't know what I was talking about.
22 of 25 at home versus 24 of 37 on the road in the National Football League. Can't have it. He can't be there. So he misses the kick. So the 49ers should be winning in the game. It should be 10-7 49ers. Instead, he misses the field goal. There's 57 seconds left. Seahawks get the ball. And I really thought this was the one drive where Clint Kubiak sort of outfoxed Robert Salavish, because Seattle is moving the ball down the field. And this I thought was genius. They spike it. It's 1st and 10 at the Niners 40-yard line. They spike the ball. There's 12 seconds left. Niners come out in a man defense, and Seattle, who's on the Niners 39-yard line, just runs Darnold on a bootleg. But because the Niners are bailing out of there in man coverage, and they only had, I think, 3 down linemen, Sam Darnold gets an easy free 9 yards that he just walks to the sideline to set up an easier field goal for Myers, who boots it through. And all of a sudden, Seattle goes into
right down the middle, by the way, to rub salt in my wound.
Perfect kick. Right down the middle. Seattle goes into the locker room 10-7, despite pretty much getting dominated in the first half.
Totally. And I thought that was probably one of their best play calls of the game, that quarterback sweep. It was a really, really good call because I don't think Darnold's making a throw to the sideline against this defense, even though he had one nice throw to Jackson Smith-Njigba, which might have been his 1 or 2 only good throws of the entire game versus the 49ers defense. Anyway, I agree with you. Yeah, that was very clever.
Very.
Got to give credit where credit's due. And to go up 10-7, it felt like we were seeing the 2024 49ers, didn't it?
Kind of. It was like, are we really going to go through this all over again? We're going to get to the second half of the game in a second. But first, let's tell you about Sleeper. We're so pleased and privileged to be partnering with Sleeper this year. By the way, we were 5 of 6, I believe, on our picks that we gave out on Friday. We were crushing it. Michelle and I, mostly Michelle, to be honest, but I was there too. I made some picks. They also hit. So if you want to make the picks that we're making, please do it on the Sleeper app. It's super easy. Just download the app. You can see it on the screen right now. You can go to all sports, but if you go right to NFL, you can make picks before the game. You can make picks during the game. Whatever you feel more comfortable with, just go higher or lower on any stat category you want. They've got a bazillion stats in there. It's that easy. You make your picks. You just click higher or lower, more or less right there. You can see it on my screen. It's easy. And if you use our code GSP, you'll get $100 match on your first deposit. Now, terms and conditions apply, so see Sleeper's terms of use for details. But again, promo code GSP to get up to $100 match on your first deposit. Currently operational in over 25 states. Check out Sleeper today. We killed it. Not gonna. You made the ultimate prediction, Vish, but Michelle and I crushed it on Fridays also.
You and Michelle crush it every Friday, Rob.
Accurate. It's not going to lie. All right, let's get to the second half of the game. Niners are down 10-7, excuse me. They come out. Here we go. We're moving the ball, right? McCaffrey catches a short pass, and this was so weird. He got like hit from behind And I thought that, I think it was Joe Davis did a perfect call, sort of ping-ponged Christian McCaffrey like forward and gave him like a speed boost. And he ended up getting a 25-yard gain on the play. And all of a sudden the 49ers go from their own 25 to midfield instantly.
Yep, and I agree. That ping pong was the perfect description. He kind of like ricocheted forward.
Yeah, it was weird, but I was like, hey, we'll take the speed burst. Thank you very much.
Just great balance from him. Just to use the contact momentum and be able to get himself and keep his momentum forward. What an athlete.
Now they're trying to run the ball. Brian Robinson gains 4 on the next play. Juwan Jennings catches a 5-yard pass. McCaffrey comes back in. 3rd and 1, picks up 2. First down. Yes, here we go. 1st and 10 at the Seattle 39-yard line. And Superman tried to put on his cape, Fish. Brock Purdy drops back. He's deep in the pocket. He's kind of flat-footed. He sees Juwan Jennings. He throws over the middle, and Christian McCaffrey doesn't get out on his route because of a block, and the linebacker drops back and intercepts Purdy's pass, and it just looked really, really ugly.
Yeah, it's hard to say if he's throwing blind because he's kind of deeper in the pocket than he usually sets up, and he's really flat-footed, like his weight isn't even coming forward. But this ball just floated like anything. Even if it was going to Jennings, like it did not have a very linear trajectory. And even if you do influence Ernest Jones much more on that play, again, the ball was floating like anything. Was it to Jennings? Yeah, it was to Jennings. Yeah. And so it was just a little out of, to me, this was just really weird when it happened. Because it was not like anything that had happened in the game. Like all of a sudden Moody misses this kick and this is the throw he makes. Like this came out of nowhere from how he was playing and all of that. It just kind of happened, and it's not something that should happen, honestly. But he went on to play gutsy later in the game. But you can't pay a quarterback the way you pay one and have the 2 mistakes he made in this game happen.
It just seems like at any time he makes so many good throws and plays, but also at any time he could just drop back and make you go, what the, like, I don't know. I feel a lot less secure with Brock Purdy dropping back to pass than I once did, Vish. I'll say that.
I wouldn't say that. For me, I feel like we talked about his recklessness even early in his career, and he kind of got away with it because there's a certain amount of reckless you can be when your team is so good. And that's not to say that his team made him good. That's to say when he's good and his team is that good, he can play a certain style and get away with it 100% of the time. That's why his stats were some of the craziest stats, you could see. But we saw the recklessness at Iowa State. I used to always talk about it. When I watched him in Iowa State, he was the king of the dumbest play I'd ever seen. You know what I mean? He would do that. And I don't really think he does that in the NFL. I don't think it's Favre. I don't think it's that. I just think he has a reckless playmaker competitive style to him. And that comes that gambling is why with his traits, he's a mid-level to upper tier starting quarterback in the NFL. That's really hard to do. That's because of how much he believes in himself and how quick he is to just let it loose and take these chances. Because the NFL, most quarterbacks are taking chances on a lot of their throws because everything is so timing based. Everything is so rhythmic. You're throwing the ball to a spot. You're trusting the game. You're trusting your eyes. There's so much you're trusting. But the trade-off is you see this from time to time. And this I thought was just, honestly, when I saw it live, I was like, was this his arm? Like, if his arm was stronger, could he have gotten that ball up and over Ernest Jones with the appropriate velocity? Maybe. I don't know that window is that big in the first place. Maybe Rodgers is making that throw in his prime, but I don't know how many other guys are making that throw in his prime, flat-footed in the pocket like that. It's just a very weird thing. And he didn't play. The reason I keep saying weird is because of how he played prior to this, Rob. Like, he was playing the exact opposite of this. He was so I shouldn't say conservative, but he was just so efficient and smooth and clean. And this just came out of nowhere.
It's just like, what the, and it was just like so many interceptions of his last year. We're rolling down the field, and all of a sudden it just, bam, slams the brakes down on everything. It was incredibly deflating, but at least it was relatively deep, right? Seattle takes over at their own 29-yard line. So it's not like you set them up for good field position. And this was one of the first times in the second half of this game, Vish, that Robert Saleh's defense steps up. They force a 3-and-out by Seattle. They gained only 7 yards on 3 plays, and the ball goes right back to San Francisco. And you're like, hey, Seattle had a chance to take control of the game, to make it a 2-score game. Saleh's defense rises up and immediately gets the ball back for the Niners.
And I thought this was another great momentum shift for the 49ers, because I thought they were starting to lose this football game with what happened at the end of the half, and then Purdy turning it over right at the beginning of the half, and the 49ers defense snatched the momentum back, and that leads us right into a drive where the 49ers offense once again seizes control.
Well, this was a little weird. I felt like Kyle got mad and maybe a little scared, and he decided, I'm not letting Brock throw the ball, because he goes, Christian McCaffrey run for 9. Christian McCaffrey run for 4. Brian Robinson run for 6. Brian Robinson run for 7. Short pass to McCaffrey for 8. McCaffrey up the middle for 3. Brian Robinson up left tackle for 9. Brian Robinson loses a yard. Christian McCaffrey on 3rd and 2, stuffed for no gain. And then we get to 4th and 2. And Kyle Shanahan does not bring Jake Moody out onto the field. They're at the Seattle 30-yard line. So it would have been what? A 48-yard field goal. Kyle Shanahan says, no, Jake Moody, you stay home. We're going for it on 4th down. And he put the ball in the hands of Brock Purdy, and Brock Purdy found Luke Farrell on a little bit of a hospital ball, but Farrell took a big shot, came down with the ball. Niners convert. And that was the first instance in this game, Vish, where his lack of confidence in Jake Moody changed the way he called the game, because there is no way he goes for that 4th down if it's Robbie Gould or Greg Joseph or any other kicker. He's kicking that field goal, but he didn't right there. He went for it.
I totally agree. And Brock Purdy proved him right by making the throw.
Yes.
And shout out to Luke Farrell, because that was a tough catch. I did not expect him to hold on to that. So there's a very nice thing for the 49ers. Big free agent acquisition, Luke Farrell, at backup tight end. But I agree with you. I did also feel like Shanahan was a little spooked by that throw. He's like, what the hell is my quarterback doing? And the way he called this next drive was, we need to take freaking control of this game, and I'm going to do it with Christian McCaffrey, and I'm going to run the frick out of the football. And that's exactly what he did all the way up the field, which brings us, Rob, to what I thought was probably the worst back-to-back sequence or kind of set of plays that happened to the 49ers the end of this drive. Like, the way the entire end of this drive goes, I think, is kind of a little bit of a mess for the 49ers.
Okay, so let's see. They get a pass to Luke Farrell for the 1st down. Brian Robinson gets stuffed for a yard. Then we get the offsetting penalties on 2nd and 9. It was in grounding, but it was also illegal contact by Reek Woolen, who had a brutal game. But okay, so 2nd and 9, Purdy throws to McCaffrey for 7. You're like, okay, 3rd and 2 to Juwan Jennings. Brock goes deep down the right sideline to Jennings. I actually didn't watch this play in slow motion. Jennings falls down. He was looking for a flag. I don't remember if it was PI or not, but Jennings certainly wanted it. But then they got to trot out Jake Moody again for a 36-yard field goal, and the entire left side of the Seahawks line gets right through and blocks the kick, which, in all fairness to Jake Moody, was not his fault.
Yeah, totally. That was not even close to his fault. Although I want to say that he kicked it low, because I would just want to blame Jake Moody somehow, because it feels personal for me this time. But it was one of those things, and I mixed up 2 drives. I mixed up the next upcoming drive, a play or 2 from there, and mixed it up with this sequence. One, I thought he should have gone for it again. They had enough momentum. They were driving well enough. 4th and 2, again, you should have gone for it. I think he thought, I've brought my kicker in close enough. This drive should be good enough. And this is the problem with him, right? He always coaches thinking, I just need to do enough and my defense can go win the game, rather than, I need to put my foot on their throat and just close it right there. Maybe that's what happens when you get a little spooked by blowing a couple leads in big games. But
I'm so glad you brought that up, because I wanted to mention that and I forgot about it. That's also the indication that Moody influenced the way he called the game, because you're right. He clearly thought, okay, now I'm close enough. Now I can trust my kicker. And it turns out he couldn't trust his kick coverage. But the logic makes no sense, Fish. If you're going to go for it on 4th and 2, earlier in the drive and you get to 4th and 2 again when you're also in field goal range, why wouldn't you go for it again? It's just, it's maddening.
For me, I thought they were because of the way they called the 3rd and 2. I think they took a shot right down the right sideline to Juwan Jennings. Right. And maybe that wasn't the first read. Maybe Purdy just had a one-on-one matchup and took a shot. It's not really what their offense does, but I don't know what happened. I thought you're taking that shot because we're going for it on 4th down no matter what. So let's take a shot on 3rd down and see if we can catch them off guard because they might be playing short. They might be playing at the sticks, and we might be able to score a touchdown right here. But no, then you bring them out to kick, and it's disaster. Their offense, first of all, Rob, their kickoff coverage was horrible in this game. Moody, like the new kickoff rule with the touchback on the 35, he kicked, 2 touchbacks in this game? Like that's not great. And then Moody himself, it's horrible. This is a mess, Rob. And the one thing I want to touch on this before we continue with the rest of the game is it's not the coordinator. They can bring the next coordinator. They can bring Dave Toub from Kansas City. It's going to be an issue. I don't think there is enough seriousness in the 49. I think special teams is a culture thing. And it's not a culture thing about the 20 guys that actually do play on special teams. Like, your best players have to think the special teams is important. They have to sit in those meetings. They have to prioritize it. Your head coach has to make it a big deal every single week. At least that's how Bill Belichick talks about special teams. That's how Bill Walsh talks about special teams. I don't think Shanahan or his star players on this team think there's any importance to it. It's don't fuck up. You guys are, the backups, these guys. Maybe we'll sign a guy or two to make it special teams, but that's their thing. That's the kicker. I don't talk to the kicker. I just tell him to go make kicks. I just get the next special teams coach, make them good. It has to be a full team culture thing. There's not a buy-in from this whole team. Their whole special team culture sucks. It's not the coordinator. They suck at special teams.
Well, I thought that Brant Boyer, I agreed with you. I thought that Brant Boyer was doing what he can to create the culture. He talked about how he wanted special teams to not be seen as a punishment, which I think Kyle Shanahan looks at it that way. I thought he was trying to do it, and maybe it'll get better. Maybe it will. It can't get much worse. I'll say that. It was pretty much a return on every, or a penalty on every return. It was just an ugly, ugly showing on special teams. But again, blocked field goal. Seattle has a chance to take some momentum. They're starting to drive at the 31-yard line. Yes.
Can I say one more thing about Shanahan too?
Yes.
I don't want to see any more frustrated reactions from him on the sideline. It's one, I think he's old. He was young before where it was like, okay, he's the young, fiery coach. Now he's an old man. Like, there's no reason for him to be losing his stuff. He should be way more regulated and cool on the sideline in my mind. But then the second part of it is, even if you're going to lose your shit, what are you losing your shit for? You kept this kicker. Now you're going to be like, crap. And you're going to yell and cuss people out in your play sheet. You come across as the biggest jerk of all time. Like, you literally made this decision and now you're cussing us out about it.
That's the thing. If you want to react to other stuff with emotion, that's fine. Jim Harbaugh's older than Kyle Shanahan, and he blows his top on the sideline all the time.
And it sucks, dude. Like, grow up.
Kyle, you can't get mad at Jake Moody, dude. It's your fault. Everyone saw this coming. It's your fault. So I agree. He can't flip out on the sidelines when it's like, what did you expect was going to happen? But again, Salah's defense rises up, and look, this was massive. They are moving down the field, right? Nothing like incredible in terms of like chunk plays, but they are progressing down the field. They're starting to gain momentum. And Darnold throws to Jackson Smith and Jigba, and Sam Okuanu comes from the opposite side of the field. He's at defensive line. He's on the defensive line away from the play. He comes all the way across the field, not only makes the tackle, forces the ball out, and guess who recovers, Vish? Marquise Siegel. Why does Marquise Siegel recover? Because Marquise Siegel is always, always, always around the football. I love that kid already.
He's just very heads up, high IQ play, and it's a very nice recovery. It's not an easy fumble to recover, and he gets on top of it. And I agree. This was when I was like, this isn't the 2024 49ers, because this isn't something that would happen to the 2024 49ers. The whole third quarter, the block field goal, that was the 2024 49ers. The end of this first half, that was the 2024 49ers. But this Sam O, this miracle play out of nowhere, this wasn't happening with their defense with Nick Sorensen. And I know Robert Saleh, there wasn't too much schematically he did, but I'd like to think it's his inspiring effort. It's his ability to get his players to just compete for every snap, every play, all of those sorts of things, all gas, no break, that makes Sam O, of all people, come up with just a phenomenal play on Seattle's best offensive player by far.
Unbelievable. You take the momentum right back from the Seahawks just when they thought they were going to take control of this game. You rip the ball and rip momentum away, and the Niners get the ball back at their 34-yard line. And now they have a chance to tie the game, and they have a chance to take the momentum, and they start going down the field. And I think the first play of this drive is when Brock Purdy hurts his shoulder, because Kyle said it was when he overthrew Pearsall and there was an illegal contact, and that was this play, which is 14:50 left to go in the game. And that's when Brock hurts his shoulder, and they get the penalty. McCaffrey rips off a 13-yard run. McCaffrey goes for 2. Then they hit Pearsall again for 24 yards. This is an underrated throw by Brock Purdy. Pearsall's going up and away from him towards the left sideline, and he drops it in there perfectly. And Pearsall just looks like such a natural catcher of the football. It is just unbelievable how good this kid is. And I don't hear a lot of Ricky Pearsall was overdrafted now. I don't hear a lot of people whining about the Niners pick Ricky Pearsall now. He looks friggin' phenomenal, Vish.
So there's a couple things for me with this. One, was this the play Purdy got injured on? Because I thought I saw a Matt Barrow's tweet where he said he got driven into the turf in the first half, and that's where his shoulder got banged up.
I don't know. He said it was a play where he overthrew Pearsall. I thought maybe it was earlier in the game. I'm not sure. I could have had that wrong.
That's interesting. Maybe it was this play. I don't know.
I'd have to go back and watch it because I watched it earlier today. But yeah, maybe if it was the first half, I'm sorry. Maybe I misspoke there. But regardless,
sure, but it got banged up.
He got banged up, but they hit Pearsall on that play. They get Brian Robinson comes through for a 9-yard run. They're moving down the field.
Can we touch one thing with the Ricky Pearsall play too, real quick before we go?
Yes.
The second thing I want to hit is I think this game and this play, and nobody's really talking about Pearsall much enough, but we saw in this game why they picked him and not Ladd McConkey or Keon Coleman. It's the kind of athlete he is. One, if you see Ricky Pearsall, especially in this game when he's running his routes, especially against Reek Willen, he's so vertical off the ball. I think he's probably the best Niners receiver at doing this, maybe even better than Brandon Ayuk at doing this. He gets every route to look like he's going vertical, which is, the number one thing that you have to do as a receiver. And then the shake and his ability to get in and out of his cuts as a receiver, like Ladd McConkey is a smooth athlete, but Ricky Pearsall has a little more juice when he's in and out of his cuts. Like Ladd McConkey is a very smooth mover, but he doesn't have that herky-jerky gear to him. Ricky Pearsall has this herky-jerky gear, and you see this post corner that he runs on this route that Brock Purdy kind of lays it out there for him. The way he creates separation in and out at the top of the route, and then the way he's able to explode out of his break and then relocate the ball, he's a really, really unique athlete, a very, very good athlete. And I don't think Ladd McConkey has that exact skill set. And that exact skill set is what the Niners wanted for this offense, to run routes like the ones he ran in this game. He's a really, really good player. I think you and I thought he was going to have a big year, and I thought this game definitely confirmed it.
I mean, every time I watch him on the field, I get more and more excited. It's just every time it's like, dude, this guy looks good. He keeps checking the boxes. And so they complete the pass to Pearsall. They are running down the field. Eventually, the drive stalls out, and they get a 32-yard field goal by Jake Moody, who, bless his heart, I was nervous about it, but whatever. He kicked it through 32 yards, and the game is tied. And again, it all comes off of that forced fumble from Robert Saleh's defense.
Exactly. And I think the 49ers receiving core, once Ayuk gets healthy, between Pearsall, Ayuk, and once Demarcus Robinson is back from suspension, it'll be a lot better. And that's one thing to look forward to into the season, especially when Pearsall keeps emerging. But the second part of it is the two parts of this drive is, one, Pearsall ran a hell of an out route at the end zone. Like, he had Reek Woolen beat by a couple of yards. Now, Reek Woolen comes back and gets his hand on it, but this is just a bad throw from Purdy. This floats like anything. Like, you put this, I think, like I said, he makes this throw probably 9 times out of 10. It's a rough one. And then the Moody field goal, Rob, it was not very convincing. Ball kind of wobbled, went a little bit out wide. I don't want to overanalyze the kicking part of it, but here we are doing this every time because the Niners do not refuse to make a move on this guy. It's unbelievable. There's not that kick that he made didn't give me confidence that if they had to trot him back out there, it would be great.
I don't care how it looks when it goes through the uprights, as long as it goes through the uprights. I don't care. But you're right. The play, Pearsall is open on the goal line. Thank you for reminding me of this. And Brock sees him and starts his throw when Ricky breaks. So it's like, this is the play. He's going to him. And look, Reek Woolen gets a fingernail on it. Like, it is the slightest thing, but I don't know if it was Brock's toe at that point and the shoulder bothering him. Maybe he couldn't throw it the way he wanted to, or if he just, I don't know, just didn't get enough mustard on it. But you got to hit that. That's got to be a touchdown.
That's wide open in the NFL in the red zone. Wide open.
That's open. And Warlock says, when are you going to grade Purdy as a $53 million player and not the last pick? Happy we won, but he needs to play better. I get he doesn't have the Avengers, but that's the price for making $53 million. I mean, I don't know how you could complain about Brock in the game by saying, well, he's a $53 million player. He gave you a $53 million drive at the end of the game when he got a touchdown when they needed it.
Right. I think it's twofold. We've gone over all his mistakes, and those are mistakes that you can't have from a quarterback you're paying that much money. But there's also the other part of it is when your quarterback has 2 injuries on the road, the fact that he keeps playing, he keeps battling, the fact that he stays in and he keeps throwing the football down the field. Those are things that make a 53 million quarterback too. Like, not every game is going to look like perfect or going to look like how Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson looked on Sunday. Part of it is certain traits that are consistent from a quarterback, and $53 million quarterbacks don't quit when they get hurt. They stay in the game. They play on the road. They keep battling, those sorts of things. So it's twofold. And we talked about his mistakes for sure. We went over them. They were not great, but he also has to be evaluated for everything that happens in this game, not just the good and not just the bad.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. Like, you could say, oh, he's a $53 million quarterback. Doesn't mean he's not going to throw interceptions. Doesn't mean he's not going to throw incompletions. Like, that's, we got to be realistic too. And he did what was required on Sunday. And you could bash him because it wasn't perfect. And it wasn't perfect by any stretch of the imagination. But he got it done ultimately. Here is the play to Pearsall that we're talking about, the incompletion. They put him in motion to get the man zone indicator. And then as soon as they knew what was up, Brock goes right to him and just Woolen just tips it. It was just like a finger. I keep calling it a fingernail because that's what it was. It was just barely not enough. And it was an incomplete pass, and it could have been a huge play in the game.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, he's thrown it far hash. I think it's maybe a more difficult throw now that I'm seeing it a few times than I originally thought. I thought he was throwing it from the near hash, a far hash throw. It's not the easiest throw, but that's when you expect him to make. And I'm reading the comments right now. Ryan Jones, to the point for the earlier comment. Yeah, the pressure is the other part of it. The fact that he just kept coming back and taking snap after snap and playing and giving you a chance in the game. Like, again, not everybody's Allen, not everybody's Mahomes, not everybody's Jackson. Like, when you pay the guy $53 million, there are some inherent things that you expect him to do. That's why Dak has gotten 3 of these sorts of deals. That's why Kirk Cousins got 3 of these sorts of deals.
He made the plays he needed to at the end, but it certainly wasn't perfect. So they get the field goal, right? Okay. They get the field goal. It's now tied. What does Robert Saleh's defense do again? 3 and out. Seattle goes 3 plays. They lose 6 yards, and the Niners get the ball right back. The solid defense in the second half was a thing of beauty, Vish. Seattle tried to do this stupid wide receiver screen on second down.
The Niners play.
Or first down, rather. And Nick Bosa is just sitting there next to Jackson Smith and Jigba, just waiting for him to catch the ball so he could tackle him for an 8-yard loss. And that torpedoed the whole possession.
That's a Niners play. They tried to pull a Niners play on the Niners, and yeah, it's not
It did
great.
not work. So Niners get the ball back. You're like, here we go, right? We just tied it up. We got a 3 and out. Here come the Niners. Brock Purdy hits Juice for 7 yards, which that was a nice play, by the way. And I give Brock credit. He doesn't get enough credit for when he does like a play action fake and he turns around. There are guys close to him or in his face a lot. And he not only doesn't panic, but he gets the ball out and completes a lot of those passes. He did it to Juice on that play. They gained 7 yards. Trent Williams gets a holding on the next play, which stinks.
That's his athleticism, right? Brock's real quick on those. Like those are the little things that you need a certain type of athlete to play quarterback on this offense, because you got to turn guy in your face and still be able to get the ball and get it out there with touch and pace to do that. Garoppolo also was fairly decent at that, to give him some credit, but Brock's much better.
It's not easy, that's for sure. Trent Williams gets a holding on the next play, and then Brock Purdy does the stupid thing again, Vish. And this one is even worse than the first one. This interception, I was stunned to hear Kyle Shanahan defend him after the game. Ricky Pearsall was never open on the play. There was never any room for him to be open on the play. There's 4 guys around him when he catches the ball, and Kyle's sitting there saying, oh, well, Ricky's got to, get an offensive pass interference and break it up so there's no interception. Like, dude, Brock cannot throw that pass.
Yeah, I don't know what he was trying to do in that situation. I want to know if maybe he wanted Purdy to throw that and they called that play and he wanted that ball thrown, so maybe he doesn't want to come and kill him for it. Maybe he just wants to see more compete out of Pearsall at the catch point, regardless of whether it was a dumb decision, and so that's how he elects to talk about it in the media. I don't always find him to be so calculated, especially when he says stuff like, oh, I will say what I feel right now. And then when you ask me again, I'll tell you what I feel right now. Like, I don't know that he's that calculated or whatever. This is just a bad throw and a bad decision, and one he can't make in this game. People are comparing him to Mahomes and saying this is a Mahomes-like performance from Purdy, the game Mahomes always has. No, Mahomes doesn't do this.
This is just a rancid interception. Again, there's 4 guys there, never had a shot at the ball, and just like those are the head scratching plays. I don't know how both of the plays could be in there, Vish. I don't know how the brilliant Brock Purdy plays where he scrambles around or he throws with anticipation and does all the good things that we love about Brock, but also this. How can both of those be in that body?
I don't look at it like that, because I feel like for our perspective when we're watching football plays, like sometimes they can look a lot worse in terms of the margins. Like maybe Purdy saw something when he threw the ball. I think the way this ball comes out of his hand doesn't help too, because it kind of floats up there for a while.
Yes.
And everybody's able to get around it and all of these sorts of things. So the optics of it are really bad. Again, I want to go back to maybe Shanahan called it and he said, I want you to throw this ball. You better freaking throw this ball. And that's why he didn't want to kill him for it in the sideline. It was just not a good play for the 49ers.
Kenny says it reminded me of the misguided decision he made against the Rams late last year when he threw to Jennings down the right sideline that was intercepted too. Sometimes it's like I feel like he makes up his mind. I'm going to Ricky here. I'm going to Juwan here. And he doesn't scan the field like he usually does. But regardless, it was a critical interception, and it sets up the biggest possession of the game. And it's actually a possession by the Seahawks because they are driving down the field, Fish. I was stunned at what they did. I was thrilled, but I was stunned. They're going down the field. They get in 49ers territory. It's 1st and 10 at the Niners 28-yard line. They run it for 4. D. Winters makes a play. 2nd and 6. Kenneth Walker gets stuffed by guess who? D. Winters again, this time for -1 yards. 3rd and 7. Darnold throws short to Cooper Kupp. Bernardo Green comes off his man and makes a tackle on Cooper Kupp 1 yard short of the first down marker. Great play by Bernardo Green. Should have been Upton Stout's responsibility, but Green makes the play. It is 4th and 1. 3 minutes and 24 seconds left to go in the game. And I really believe, Vish, that Jake Moody was so wonky that he even affected the Seahawks game calling, because I think that Mike McDonald looked and said, all we need is a field goal because their kicker ain't making one no matter where he's kicking from. And I think that's why Mike McDonald elected to kick instead of going for the first down. And they kicked the field goal and left the door wide open for Brock Purdy and the Niners to come and steal it.
I totally agree with you. And I also thought it was kind of like a mental game of, oh, we'll go up a field goal so they know in the back of their mind, like, oh, we just need a field goal, but we can't freaking put our kicker out there.
Yep.
And it's kind of funny because it turned out to completely backfire on him on the very next drive.
And here it was again. And this felt so much like last year. It was like, all right, Brock, here we go again. Team hasn't played great. You haven't played perfect, but it's a one-score game.
You're on the road, division game.
Yes. You've got the ball in your hands. It's another winnable division game. And I was not feeling. How were you feeling at this moment? Brock Purdy gets the ball back. 3 minutes and 24 seconds left in the game, or technically 3:19 after the kick return. How are you feeling in that moment? Are you confident or are you nervous?
No, I thought the 49ers offense would be able to move it down the field. I felt like Shanahan would find the way to get the ball to McCaffrey. Like, I thought things would happen for the 49ers offense. What I was concerned about was that I wasn't confident that they would be able to score a touchdown at the end of the drive. And that's what kind of surprised me, because I was then worried about having to be able to kick a field goal. But when they got the ball, I was like, okay, they're going to be able to move it. Like, they're not just going to go down without whatever. And Purdy makes his throw of the game where he just steps in there. They hadn't really pushed the ball down the field well in this game at all. They were kind of dink and dunk to McCaffrey outside of a few plays to Pearsall here and there. And Purdy takes a shot, and Pearsall runs a hell of a double move on Tariq Woolen and makes a hell of a play on the ball.
And if you're watching on the stream right now, you can see it. And Ricky Pearsall said after the game that they basically went to the sideline and told the Niners coaches, like, we got to run a double move because they were playing my back hip, Pearsall said, and we felt like we could get this on them. And that was just they saw it on the film. They felt it in that moment in the game. Credit to the Niners coaches, Kyle or whoever convinced Kyle to do it, to call it. But Brock Purdy, banged up toe, banged up shoulder, 2 interceptions under his belt, never hesitated, let it rip, and it was perfect, Vish.
Yeah, and that ball is just about getting it out there and taking your shot and letting your guy go make a play. And Ricky Pearsall, the other part of it is you got to make the play on the back end. Ricky Pearsall is a very good player. It's a very clean route.
I have watched that play over and over again, 1,000,000 times, because if you look, Tariq Woolen gets beat by the double move, but he recovers and he looks like he's in good position. And all of a sudden, he decelerates and kind of slows up like the ball is going to be short. And Ricky Pearsall blows by him and catches the ball perfectly in stride. I think Ricky kind of messed with him a little. I think Ricky kind of decelerated a little bit and made Tariq Woolen think the ball was going to be short, and actually did that intentionally to turn on the speed again and create the extra little bit of separation to make the catch.
So you said this to me on the phone, and I was watching this play after, and I actually kind of agree with you. And I think that's more just Pearsall being freaking good at the catch point, because he does have to wait on this just a tad. Not that it's the biggest deal. It's a 45-yard throw. It's not going to be perfect. It's just got to be out there, and you got to make a play on the catch point, which is exactly what he does. And Woolen does not track the ball well at all. Like, that's his big issue. He does not track the ball well over his shoulder, and Pearsall tracks the ball extremely well over his shoulder. It's one of his best things. He has a really, really good hand-eye coordination is really, really good. And so the way he's able to set him up at the catch point is phenomenal. Pearsall is just damn good, man. He's just damn good.
I could watch this play over and over again. It is just beautiful. Brock Purdy getting it out there, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh my God, like, we're in field goal range. And I know I was scared about
and have the guts to just, okay, this is our one shot. I'm going to just put this ball out there, everything I got on it. And the protection held up too. The 49ers offensive line always gets crap, right? They held up.
They absolutely held up on that play beautifully. Flipping the field, obviously, they go from their own 33 to the Seattle 22-yard line. Brock hits Jake Tonges for his first ever NFL catch.
This is
Brock
a great
Purdy
catch.
Hits Jake Tonges again. I love this. It was 2nd and 8. He hits Tonges, who has to go low to get the ball, and he catches it, and no one's around him, and he's like a yard short, and he crawls over the first down marker. I loved that from Jake Tonges on that play.
Great catch from him too, because it's kind of a play where he's running a George Kittle-esque route. And I think Purdy throws it where Kittle would be if he ran the route, but Tonges isn't Kittle. He's a quite bit slower coming out of his break than Kittle, but Tonges does a great job going to the ground and catching it.
Jake Tonges, who knew? Maybe he was just a weapon that we had never used, but nonetheless, they get
No, I don't. I would prefer not to be using him next week.
What do they do, though?
Okay.
1st and 10 at the 11, running up the middle with Christian McCaffrey. They gain a yard. They give it to McCaffrey on a short little quick pass. He gets inside the 5-yard line. He gets to the 4-yard line on a 6-yard gain. And here we go. 3rd and 3 at the 4-yard line. Niners need a field goal to tie, a touchdown to take the lead. Brock Purdy rolls out, drops back. He's looking at Christian McCaffrey the whole way, and Christian McCaffrey ain't open. The Seahawks are all over it. They know where you're going, and he doesn't have McCaffrey. And then we get Brock Purdy off script and on the run.
Yeah, this is a great escape. He keeps this play alive. It's a phenomenal thing that he keeps it alive. Look, a lot of people are saying he kept it alive in the back end zone. I don't know that floating the ball up to the corner of the end zone is the best decision, but I don't know that you always have to make the best decision to make the right decision, because Jake Tonges makes him right, and Reek Woolen just has an absolute nightmare play on the back end of this. I don't know if he just thought that nobody was around him and he was going to be able to fair catch this ball, and Tonges just steps in front of him. Like this is an interception. This is coming right to him, and Tonges just wants it more. Yep. And again, the escape is phenomenal from Purdy. Good on him, because sometimes the best decision isn't always what ends up being the right decision, and the right decision helped them score in this game, but it's not a play that I guess is, I don't know. I feel like it'll be overanalyzed. It's one of those plays that's a great play by Tonges, and it is what it is. Niners won. It's awesome.
I saw it described first by Matt Mayoko as Brock Purdy's pass to Reek Woolen was intercepted by Jake Tonges, and I think that's a pretty accurate description. I mean, Tonges is never open on the play, and Brock puts that ball in harm's way, right? Say what you want about Jake Moody, but you're in field goal range to tie the game. It's 3rd down. Even if you don't want to kick a field goal, you can't risk the ball like that. But Purdy did risk it, and in this case, it worked out.
And it's not even a great throw if you're trying to throw Tonges open on that play, because if you're trying to throw Tonges open, you're trying to throw that ball up and over to give him a shot at the back pylon, because that's really where he is, and maybe he wins a jump ball in the back pylon. He kind of floats this thing short. And again, it's one of those things where the escape creates everything and you get a chance. And Reek Woolen has an absolute, first of all, he sucks versus the 49ers. And this was awful. And then second of all, shout out to Tonges for just going up and getting that thing.
Yeah, great job, Jake Tonges. You know what's weird about that play? Watching the all-22. So he looks to Christian McCaffrey first. McCaffrey's just going out into the flat, and he's not open. And then McCaffrey goes out of bounds, and McCaffrey knows he went out of bounds and actually signals to Brock. Brock is staring at him, and McCaffrey waves his arms like an umpire signaling safe, almost as if I'm out of bounds, don't throw to me. And then McCaffrey literally stops and just backs up and goes out of bounds during the play. So I guess he really wanted to cement home to Brock Purdy, don't throw me the football. And that's when Brock ultimately scrambles to his right. But the touchdown was made. And then Jake Moody comes on and makes the extra point, which was a big deal because it forced Seattle to have to get a touchdown instead of just a field goal. And that obviously comes into play when the Seahawks get the ball back.
Yeah, 100%. I don't want to really give Moody all of that for making the extra point. Look, kickers got to make extra points. I think the touchdown was the bigger play. The 49ers offense is the bigger thing that happened.
I'm not giving him credit, but I'm saying it was important. It was an important extra point.
Agreed. Totally. You're absolutely right about that. Going up 4 was big because of the next sequence of events that happened. I will say, though, if you're asking about what I felt, I thought the game was done. The moment he threw that ball and Tonges came up with that miracle catch,
really?
The next sequence of plays is a little shocking to me, actually, because in that moment I was like, yes, this is what I thought. I think I even texted you 17-13. I felt so confident I had the score right. I didn't think there was any chance Sam Darnold was going to take them down the field and score a touchdown. It got a lot closer than I honestly expected, but once he escaped and once he put that ball up and Tonges made that play, I was like, oh, this thing is over in my mind.
I'm stunned because I was not feeling that at all. Because there was a lot of time left. There certainly was enough time left for Seattle. There was 94 seconds left in the game.
Did you believe you saw something that Sam Darnold was going to move them down the field and score a touchdown on the 49ers defense at any point in this game?
I was so scarred by last year that I was
That's Geno Smith, man. That's Geno Smith.
Look, I was like, they got to
without Nick Bosa.
I was worried, not going to lie. And look, Seattle gets the ball back. They immediately go right to Jackson Smith and Jigba, 11 yards, first down. Boom. First and 10. They try to go to Jackson Smith and Jigba again. And who is there, Vish? But our man, Upton Stout, making a play and tipping the ball away. And I maybe I'm exaggerating the importance of this play, but it meant so much to me because he got picked on all game. It did not go well for him for a lot of the game. And he kept his head in the game. His attitude was up, and he made a big play when they needed it.
Oh, I totally agree. And this was a great play. And I think this is why I like him. And I think he had a good game. I felt like the times that Seattle got him, it was just because he's a rookie and he hasn't played a lot, not because he was doing anything right or wrong. It's, we're going to take this rookie who's thinking about 7 different things because he plays a position that has him doing 3 or 4 different things on one given play. And we're going to put all of those things on conflict and see if he can react fast. And, the rookie reacts a second late. We got him. He's getting burned, blah, blah, blah. Anytime it was mano-a-mano, it was obvious pass, obvious run, he looked ready to go. He looked like he knew what he was doing. The way he played this coverage was really, really nice. He's a really, really talented player. There's a reason he's starting week 1. Sam Womack was the last nickel to do that. I don't think he'll be benched after week 1 like Sam Womack was after the Bears game. And so I think I think he's going to be a really, really good player. And if they play Seattle again, they won't be able to do this to Upton Stout. When do they play Seattle again? Do they play them week 10? They play them after week 10.
Week 18, final game of the year.
If the game means something, they won't do this to Upton Stout. And if the 49ers defense is the same amount healthy and these guys are able to play through the year, which these are all massive ifs, they will eat this same offense. Like this offense will not move the ball. Like they will eat them up. This offense cannot do anything against them.
Well, they certainly did something on the next play, and this is when I was hyperventilating, because on the very next play after the Upton Stout pass breakup, Sam Darnold rips the ball to Jackson Smith and Jigba on a double move on Bernardo Green, and they gain 40 yards, and they go from Seattle's 46-yard line to the Niners' 14-yard line, and I was like, it's going to happen again. It's going to happen again. And the only thought I had in the game at that point was, well, you know what? They need a touchdown, and they haven't scored a touchdown yet. And that was the only thing. But what happens on the next play after that? Bryce Huff lines up off sides, and we're giving them yards now. Now they're down to the 9-yard line.
And you wanted Shanahan to use a timeout.
The clock stopped because of the penalty, so they didn't need to. But then Seattle ran the ball on first down.
Right.
And great play by Nick Bosa, who's unblocked on the play, comes right around the edge and snuffs out Kenny Walker. No gain. So there's 42 seconds left. Kyle did not use a timeout. That was when I was getting a little nervous. Sam Darnold drops back to pass, Vish. 2 things on this play. Number 1, Michael Williams is getting blocked by 3 people on the play. Nick Bosa is getting blocked by 1 person on the play. And
it's a stunt by Robert Saleh to create the one-on-one for Bosa.
And it's Abe Lucas on Nick Bosa. And Abe Lucas is 6'6", 322 pounds. And Nick Bosa takes him for a ride so fast. And I thought it was a perfect setup. And this is why I think they like the wide 9. Bosa is out there. He's so fast off the ball, Vish, that Abe Lucas has to do everything he can to just get in front of Nick Bosa and slow him down. And he does get in front of Bosa, but he has to go so fast. He has no balance whatsoever. And Nick Bosa drives him back into Sam Darnold so far that literally he uses Abe Lucas to force the fumble on Sam Darnold and save the game for the 49ers.
Yeah, to be fair, I don't think Bosa, that was kind of lucky that Darnold happen to throw the ball right into Abe Lucas's back. But I totally agree with your point about the Bosa rush. The rush was just phenomenal. And sometimes when he does that, I think I feel like it's almost like there are points in this game where he's just waiting. Like he knows he's got 1 or 2 rushes that are money, and he's just waiting for the right moment. Because there are times where he beats whoever he's playing, whether it's an Abe Lucas, and Abe Lucas is a pretty decent player. He beats these guys so bad, and he beats them so fast, whether it's with just power, whether it's with speed around the edge, whether it's with his inside move. It's almost like he's got something set up the whole game where he can just take this guy, and if he needs one rush and he's got to get to the quarterback, he's got it. And this is speed to power, and he just takes him and he wallops him. And he's so explosive, so strong. There's a reason he's one of the best. I mean, I like when we're talking about defensive players on the 49ers in my lifetime, he's one of the best I've ever seen. He's certainly the best on this defense for me. And I thought I defended him last year. I defended him the year before. I feel like I defend him year after year. He's just one of the best players in the NFL. It's as simple as that. And I think he's excited because now there's a 40 million number that he can earn. And I think he wants that.
And he's going to have to, the Niners are going to have to come to the table because his cap number jumps up to 40 million next year after being 20 million this year. But that he not only does he drive Lucas into Sam Darnold, Darnold fumbles, Bosa recovers, strip, sack, fumble, game over. Niners close it out. And you could see Kyle and Saleh hug after the game. Tim Kawakami talked about it on his podcast in the locker room, apparently. John Lynch and Robert Saleh are giving out backslaps to Kawakami and reporters. Like, they were joyous in the locker room in this game because, honestly, I think they felt it as much as we did, Vish. They felt that we finally closed it out in the fourth quarter. This isn't 2024 anymore. We're different, and I think they really needed it. I think they exercised some demons.
100%. And it's really hard at the end of the day. Like, we just did a 1 hour, 20-minute over analysis of the game where we picked at every detail and gave our opinion at it. But the bottom line is it's really, really hard to win division games on the road in the NFL at any point. Week 1 is the hardest. And to do that with whatever your team is, however you do it, whatever it looks like to do that for your team, it's so big. It pulls up the confidence, everything of your season in such a different way. When you start your season going on the road, beating your rival, it's such a hard thing to do. And that's what the 49ers just did. No matter what it looked like, no matter what happened, no matter how we overanalyzed it, that's the bottom line. That's the only thing that matters.
It was exercising. It was cathartic. That's the word I was searching for. It was cathartic to see that. Unbelievable by the Niners. So impressive. Seattle might not be that good. Whatever. You held them to 230 yards on their home field, okay? You missed a 27-yard field goal. You had another field goal block. Your quarterback threw 2 bonehead interceptions, and you still won the game. And I've talked about this a million times in the past. Good teams win their clunkers. This was a clunker by the 49ers, and they found a way to win it. Now, look, there's obviously questions about New Orleans next week. Brock Purdy's health. George Kittle's not going to play. Juwan Jennings probably isn't going to play. Those are all real questions. But they have a very real shot, even with Mac Jones, to go and start their season 2-0 on the road, 2 NFC wins, and a division win.
Absolutely. I agree with you.
You weren't listening to me at all there, were you?
No, I heard you. What else am I supposed to say? They're not going to win. It's not going to happen. I can't predict the scores back-to-back weeks, okay? So I was hoping not to go there.
What were you, peeking at this stinker of a Sunday night or a Monday night football game? Is that what you were doing?
Yeah, I've been peeking at it. It's not been great.
Yeah, Jordan Mason, 4 carries for 14 yards, 3.5 yards per carry. Whoa, man. Really missed Jordan Mason. Give me a break.
God, I hate the Bears.
Jordan Mason. Anyway. That's going to do it for this edition of the show. Thank you, everybody. Like this video, subscribe to the channel. Again, we do this every Monday. We go drive by drive and review the game for the 49ers, the good, the bad, the ugly. Happy to review a win. Happy to do it with you, Vish, the genius who predicted the score on the button. Congratulations.
Man, you're giving me too much credit. Thanks, Rob. I'm blushing.
Enjoy the rest of Monday Night Football, everybody. We'll talk to you next week.